Good morning, everybody. I know there's currently no people watching, but those of you who'll be watching after the fact, good morning. How is everybody on this lovely Friday morning? Thank God the weekend's here, although I say that, but I don't really do anything during the week other than this. Originally, I wasn't going to wear a hat today. I was like, you know what? I don't want to, but I realize age is getting to me. And there's far too much gray in my hair for me to be comfortable with right now. So I got to get something done with it at some point because there's just way too much. Um, but yeah, welcome to the morning rant. Like I said, it's Friday, so I'm just anxious for the weekend to be here because I will be completely disconnecting from social media and all things electronic and going back to what I'm guessing Gen Z would call the Stone Age. I'm going to be diving into a new book that I just bought, not necessarily new, but new to me. Um, I decided to purchase George Orwell's 1984. Um, you talk about all of the required reading in when you're in school, whether it be you know grade school, middle school, high school, college, whatever. Um, and it seems to be generational because you talk to your grandparents and the things that they read were vastly different than the things that your parents were required to read in, you know, various sections of their schooling, versus, what you guys or my generation and then, on down, uh, were required to read. And as I've gotten older, because obviously I'm 38 now, I'm pushing 40. Um, as I look back and I learn more about the real world around me versus the type of shit they tried to feed us in high school, um, as I learn more about the world around me, I realize that there were specific ways that people, or no, specific ways that teachers framed their lessons that they taught us. Um, and they weren't always correct. The information they gave us was not always correct. It was very much based on a narrative. And I think once I started realizing that, and once I started realizing that the federal education system has a narrative, it started to piss me off because I'm somebody who enjoys learning, but I want to learn the correct thing and you know, not what people want to tell me, but what people need to teach. And not what's, just there to make my feelings feel better. Um, so I may or may not do a live stream based on or reviewing 1984. Um, Somebody had told me recently, when I had told them that I bought it, that blah, 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 wow, that there's a movie on YouTube based on 1984, which I'm probably going to dive into that this weekend too, just to see what that's about because I didn't know that existed. But my understanding up to this point of what 1984 is it's kind of a a look into what kind of dystopia is possible if people just let things happen around them. And I was on my Facebook memories the other day, and I believe it was a memory that I posted when Luke Perry from well, you guys would remember him from Riverdale, the younger generation. My generation and older would remember him from uh, Beverly Hills 90210. I'm not going to remember the quote exactly, but it was something akin to don't let life happen to you. Make sure you happen to your life. Basically, don't let life pass by you and happen around you. Make sure you are fully taking part in your life. And I think more so now than ever, it, it's very important to embrace a message like that. So I'm going to be reading 1984 over the weekend, and maybe sometime next week, one of my episodes will be reviewing it. Um, I was never the greatest reader when I was in school. I absolutely hated it. I can read, I just often chose not to, because it never interested me. And I believe this is hereditary, but only because it's, me and my mom have the same issue where I start reading and I'm maybe 4 or 5 pages in, and for whatever reason, it strains my eyes to the point where I become very tired and I pass out for 3 4 hours. Um, I don't know if that happens to anybody else. If it does, let me know in the comments. Um, so I've always said that. Oh, I'm gonna get the hiccups. Ooh, oh, there we go. Um, no, I don't always say I get the hiccups, but I've always said that I enjoy reading when I'm not forced to. Um, but with with the whole concept of, you know, becoming very tired very easily once I start reading, um, I tend to avoid it because my eyes are bad enough. Obviously, I wear glasses, but yeah, my eyesight is garbage. And I wish I could fix that, but I don't have the money. But yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that book, so I will keep you guys posted on when I finish that and when I'm going to be talking about it. Um, the main reason I got it was because there was something that came out recently, and they said, and I might have said this in another stream, they said that the estate for Roald Dahl, who wrote I believe it was the Willy Wonka and the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory book, um, most notably, but he wrote tons of other great books. Um, he or no, his estate sold the publishing rights to somebody or some entity, and for whatever reason, this entity, once they got the publishing rights, they automatically started just completely tearing apart the things that he wrote, and they started rewriting the things that he wrote to fit today's narrative to make it more modern and politically correct. And I don't think, because writing is a style of art, it's a medium of art. And I do not think that once art is created that it should be altered in any way, um, unless by the person who originally created it. Um, so I have a problem with the fact that they're taking his entire catalog and rewriting it just to be politically correct for the times that we're in. I'm sick and tired of people basing everything on whether it's going to hurt their feelings. I don't operate on feelings because if I did, I wouldn't be the person I am today. I would be a scared, timid little person that did not talk to anybody because I would be afraid that my feelings would be hurt. I'm not about that. So I wanted to make sure and get 1984 before somebody decided to lobotomize it and change everything in it. Um, so hopefully I got an early enough copy, uh, because if you look at the print date and the copyright date, you can tell when it was, when the issue that you have was created. So hopefully I got one early enough that if there have been any changes to it, you know, I hope not, but I have one that's close enough to the original. So, but yeah, I'll let you guys know how that ends up. I believe it's 296 pages. So just about 300. Should only take me about 3 days to read. Um, depending on how much I fall asleep in between. So that'll be interesting to see how much it relates to what we're going through today. However, that is not what we're talking about today. I know I just spent 12 minutes, you know, ranting about that, but that's what this show's about. Um, Now, this particular, as you can see with the title, it wasn't necessarily an original idea. I was watching a video from Jay, who a lot of people in the nerd community and the internet community know as Drunk 3PO. He was talking about an article that he found from Kotaku, and they were talking about the fact that Funko Pops, or the Funko company, is set to take $30 million worth of Funko Pops that they have in storage and send them to a landfill. And this stems from their overproduction during the last 3 years during the pandemic. Um, I don't know why they would overproduce during a period of, financial crisis, but I believe they may have seen a boom in the purchasing of Funkos, so that may be why they did that. But the my understanding is they overproduced because they saw an uptick in purchasing, and now that purchasing has slowed down, they have all of their warehouses full to capacity. And everybody's saying, well, instead of throwing them in a landfill, why not sell them at a reduced price for people that may not be able to otherwise have access to these and maybe afford them, which is a great idea. But no, apparently they're going to be going to a landfill. And mind you, uh these Funko Pops are mostly plastic and vinyl. And the one thing that shocked me was the eco freaks, the ones that are supposedly all about the earth and all about preserving the earth. I've not heard anything from that group of people talking about how this is going to be dangerous to send all of these, plastic and vinyl little pieces of, memorabilia to a landfill. So it really did shock me that nothing has been said in that regard. Because you think $30 million worth of these Funkos. I know that there are certain Funkos that go for absurd prices. So, you know, with the price of certain ones, $30 million worth doesn't exactly give you a visual of how many Funkos they're getting rid of. Um, because of the price that some of these are worth. And that just means that there are fewer of certain Funkos, but the demand is still up, and there are people that want these particular Funkos, so it raises the price because supply and demand. All the way back to economics and government in high school, which I am wondering if it still exists because not a lot of people seem to understand, the economics that are, taking place today. But I wanted to go through the article and kind of read through. Now, I understand that me doing this because first saw Jay or Drunk 3PO do it, I understand it's probably going to appear like I'm copying his content. I'm not, but you know, he has a love for, collecting and, the Comic-Con world, the geek nerd world, however you want to classify it. And it's something that I've had a love for many years now. I've said before that my first Comic Con was back in 2014. Um, so in no way is it me, copying or stealing his content by any or by any means, but it is something that I find interesting to talk about. So I'm gonna bring the article up and we'll go through it and talk about it after. Let's see. Share. And that. There we go. So I'm going to do this so that I can see the chat. Says from Kotaku, says over $30 million worth of Funkos are headed to the landfill. Sorry, Funko Grogu. The force may not be with you wherever you are. Sky, if you ever watch this episode, I'm not sorry. Um, my friend Sky is a very hardcore Star Wars fan. As the company that makes Funko Pop collectibles is in so much trouble, it's preparing to throw hundreds of thousands of its pop culture inspired figurines in the garbage. Funko revealed the plans in a recent earnings call filled with so much bad news, its stock price fell off a cliff the next day. That right there tells you, that they're in a lot of trouble. Uh, Quote says inventory at year end totaled 246.4 million, an increase of 48% compared to a year ago, the company wrote in a press release on Wednesday. Uh, this includes inventory that the company intends to eliminate in the first half of 2023, reduce fulfillment costs by managing inventory levels to align with the operating capacity of our distribution center. Now, when they say distribution center, like I said, my understanding is that uh, they have several warehouses that are stocked with these things, like overstocked. So I don't know if the distribution center is different from the warehouses or if they're one and the same. I don't necessarily know that off the top of my head. says this is expected to result in a write down in the first half of 2023 of approximately 30 to 36 million dollars. Translation: Funko's warehouses are overflowing with 5-inch chibi replicas of Machine Gun Kelly, Spider-Man, Pikachu, and every other vaguely famous cultural icon. Uh, throwing them out will be cheaper than trying to sell them, which I personally don't think so. You could easily put them up on, an auction site and have people buy them that way. Uh, During a call with investors, CEO Brian Mariotti said a new distribution center in Arizona was so full that the company had been bleeding cash, renting shipping containers to hold all of the excess inventory. Mariotti arrived just last year amid an executive shakeup following increasingly bad earnings news. So this sounds like it's been going on for quite some time. Uh, the stock price cratered last November when Funko slashed its financial outlook for the year and fell by another 25% this week as the company revealed it would also lay off 10% of its employees. Um, part of which seems to be going on here Part of what seems to be going on here is the supply chain shortages combined with extra income and time at home during the early pandemic years. They make it sound like it was 20 years ago. It was barely yesterday. uh Spurred a temporary run on Funko Pop sales. uh Now that the initial rush has subsided, the company has a ton of extra stock at the same time sales are dropping. It's also hard to not wonder if the entire bobblehead redux has hit a peak situation. We're now in the third season of Mandalorian. Whoop de doo. Sorry, I'm not a Star Wars fan. How many little more pea green Grogu's do people need? Another question I will ask my friend Sky, who might watch this later. Um, Star Wars people, I don't know, they're just weird to me. Um, that's probably going to be a really bad take, but at least it'll get people yelling at me in my comments. So there's that. Uh, let's see. Funko Pop collectibles have long been propped up by a secondary speculators market, which tries to stay ahead of the curve on which release will end up being rare and valuable in the future. A pair of Willy Wonka Funko Pops recently went for $100,000. Over the long run, 99% of Funkos are worthless outside of whatever depraved joy fans get from occasionally making eye contact with ones lining their shelves. That's not entirely false because I mean, you need things that constantly inspire you, motivate you, and make you kind of energized. So, whatever these Funko Pops mean to people, it's up to the individual. Um, and the fact that a publication like Kotaku phrases it that way is, I don't know, to me, kind of concerning. Um, and now a ton more of them appear headed for landfill somewhere in Arizona. Everybody book a trip to Arizona, get them before they put them in the landfill. Um, may our future ancestors or the aliens excavating our civilization sometime in the distant future forgive us. Um, Again, I'm gonna say it with something like this. I don't understand with what Funkos are made of. Um, I don't understand why there hasn't been the eco freaks uh, coming in and saying this is not good. You need to find another way to either rid your warehouses of this inventory, or you need to sell them off. Um, because honestly, we do need to find a better way to dispose of garbage. I'm not gonna lie about that. Um, because there's no reason to do so. Um, but with all of these companies that claim to be environmentally friendly or socially and environmentally conscious, I don't understand why a large company like Funko would, you know, even publicly say, "Oh yeah, we're just going to throw them in a landfill." You know, if you have to bleed yourself with that much inventory, just give it away if you're going to plan on writing it down anyway. Um, I don't get it because I don't have very many Funkos. Now, mind you, I live in an apartment uh that is, I always call it the sardine can because there's not exactly a lot of room here. Um so for me, I can't collect too many, at least not right now. I do plan on, once, I start being able to financially benefit from the content that I make, I do plan on getting a bigger place where I have more space and, to display all of the memorabilia that I have, just because I want to do it. And I think, any type of art in that way would make your living space look that much more interesting. Um, and it kind of brings life to it, is really what it is. Uh, but I just, I don't know, because I was talking to a close friend of mine who is the owner of a Comic Con, and his original response to me telling him about this was that he wasn't really sure that the claim that Funko was having sales uh, trouble, he wasn't really sure that it was true. Um, and he was afraid that it was just a narrative that somebody was putting out. So when I looked for the article that I originally saw Jay referring to, I realized that although Kotaku has had a lot of people going against it in the past, it's still one of the prime resources that those of us in, the geek and nerd community and the convention scene, we all go to, because more often than not, they're generally on point. Um, I mean, if it's out there, I would love to find this leaked earnings call to see if um, there is actual audio of it, or somebody just leaked notes from it. I don't know exactly if there's leaked audio, but um, my friend that owns the convention also owns a comic book store, and he said that they are still, the Funko Pops are still some of his top sellers in the store. But as we've seen, even comics are on kind of on a downslide right now as far as sales. So I don't think it's necessarily, it's on a larger scale that they're talking. They're not talking about, um, individual retailers having trouble selling. It's realizing that the 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 creation and distribution went a little bit overboard during the pandemic, um, and they're kind of kicking themselves in the ass for it. So individual retail outlets may be not seeing a problem with their sales, but overall, the bigger picture shows that the Funko company kind of overshot and didn't plan accordingly. Um, and now they're going to financially suffer if they can't find a proper way to dispose of the excess in inventory. Um, I wish I knew what some of the excess inventory was, because as somebody who goes to conventions and collects Funkos, I don't have nearly enough. I still need tons more. Um, but, that is the nature of business when you create a product that is so sought after. Um, you tend to overshoot your projection, and sometimes you miss the mark. I just hope, for the sake of, collectors and the convention scene, I really hope that Funko doesn't continue down this trend of decline, because I don't want to see Funkos disappear from conventions or comic book stores, or memorabilia outlets, because I think it would be damaging to the collector community, the nerd community, um, because it's something we look forward to. I wish maybe they need a shakeup of more of their upper management, because they are uh, they aren't running things as effectively as they could be. So I want to know from you guys down in the comments what you think, um, and I'll be checking the comments over the weekend while I'm trying to bring myself through 1984. But yeah, I will be back on Monday. Everybody enjoy your weekend. There are links in the description. Help support the stream. There's merch, there's a donation link, and there's ways to reach out to me. But yeah, this is gonna be a short one. But yeah, I will see you guys on Monday.